This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and my guest today is Jeff Koziatek. Jeff, thank you for joining us. All 10 fingers are still there. A magician with both hands in the air. So tell our audience a little bit about Jeff Koziatek, and I asked you, I said, can you actually get this in a pretty short frame here? Because I mean, everything that I've seen, there's about 500 things listed. So
I'm a guy.
I'm a guy. Okay. And you have to go to the website to learn more.
That's really short. Right?
Okay. Maybe a little more.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here. Who I am, I'm a guy that loves people and art. And I'm married. I've got a couple kids, got a couple dogs. And everything I do today is all driven towards helping people see their intrinsic value and live from that. Now, it was a crazy journey to get here. Like you talked about, I've worked in casting, I've produced films and theater, TV and radio spots. I've worked at a booking agency, or owned one. Had an event management company, worked in photography, a little bit of acting, voiceover. I've sold some paintings around the country, but all of that was under the lens of art and people. And so it was really difficult to pick one thing, because my parents said, find something you love to do and make that your job. So I said, yeah, that's fun. That's fun. That's fun. That's
Squirrel.
fun too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shiny object.
And I'm very much of a waffle brain. I get very tunnel focused. So if I'm doing something, I'm all in, and that's all I see. But, that's the last 20 plus years of my life. Now it's very much about speaking, coaching, and writing books.
There you go. Shameless plug already.
Did I do that?
Well, we'll circle back on that for sure. So, I mean, I think you left out like 4 or 5 things that, as I'm trying to make bullet points as you're listing. I mean, there's one really creative, I think, part of your whole genre that you left out, and you do a little juggling. You do a little. I mean, I've seen videos of you riding a unicycle on stilts.
No. Those are 2 separate things.
Well, yeah, no stilt unicycle riding. That's right.
we don't do them.
Yeah, that's right. Kids, do not try this at home.
No,
trained professional.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a big juggling component and MC work.
See, I told you there was no chance you were going to be able to cram this in. But so interestingly, my next question is even going to be more difficult for you. So.
But just to clarify, you asked who I was. You did not ask what I did.
All exactly.
Of that is out there.
That's a good clarification.
That is not me.
That is a good clarification. And I think maybe you're going to touch on this in your book. Hold up, book.
I might.
Insert book on video. There we go. So you and I are stepping on an elevator in a building that's got about 25 floors there in St. Louis, and we hit the button. We're going up to the top because that's where my office is, at the top of the building. So give me your business elevator pitch in the next, say, 30 to 45 seconds.
Well, are we writing the express elevator, or are we writing a parking garage elevator?
Well, are you hitting buttons so it's going to be go slow as you're going up?
Oh,
it's right.
Yeah. Oh, elevator pitch of what I do right now?
Yeah. What's your primary service that you provide?
My primary service is keynoting. I go in, I help people see their intrinsic value and live out from I believe you can't give what you don't have. And all of business is built on people, no matter what business you're in. And if you want to provide good customer service, if you want to have teams that work well together, if you want vision, so you're all driving towards the same direction, I believe that all comes back down to value. And so that's what I do. I help people see that, and I usually start with C-suite and move on down to the
So how much time or do you actually spend more on, say, keynote speaking, speaking at events, speaking for companies versus maybe one-on-one coaching right now?
The keynotes is primarily what I'm doing.
And coaching feeds out of these keynotes from time to time, or
Yeah.
this is completely different?
Yeah. I get a lot of my coaching clients from the speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I still do a little bit of the entertainment, so I'll get some coaching clients there.
Right.
But primarily, it's the keynotes, and then the coaching is over here, and then we always have the follow up.
So what was kind of the transition point that you were in more the entertainment field, and then you went into maybe keynote in the corporate side of things? I mean, what was kind of the catalyst for that transition?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. There I was. When
writing a book.
Writing a book. No, this comes later. No, as a kid, I had picked up a message that I was not worth anything unless I did something.
Mm.
If I showed up on the honor roll, or if I performed well in sports, or if I was doing a play at school, or if I was singing in choir, or if I created a piece of art that won attention, then people looked at me. If people noticed me and paid attention. But if I wasn't doing anything, everybody looked away. So I got really used to seeing the backs of people's heads.
Mm.
And so I thought, okay, well, what can I do to make myself valuable, make myself worthy of somebody else's time? And so that led me into this career of performing. Because when you do a show, it's generally polite to sit and watch and clap at the end.
Exactly.
Really, really good. And like I mentioned earlier, my parents always said, find something you love to do, make that your job. So I found ways to earn value through performing, through video, through art. And at one point, I had a video production company, a photography company, and I had a performing company. And I was also married, and I had 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not grow any of my businesses beyond where they were. There's just no time. And so everybody said, Jeff, you need to focus. I don't understand.
I think you define that differently in your book.
Right. But they're like, you need to pick one thing. And I said, I can't do that because I love all of this stuff. How it's like picking a child. Just pick your favorite child.
Yeah, exactly.
Favorite child. I can't pick my favorite thing. All of this is me. And I was on a radio interview with this guy, Jeff. And in between takes, he said, I could help you out with it. The whole focus thing. I said, no, you can't. And he said, I could help you out in an hour, maybe 2. And I just looked at him. I'm like, I've spent 5 years trying to find the focus. He said, no, give it a shot. So we met, and within an hour, I had a new lens. It went from art and people down to helping people find their intrinsic value. And then teaching anybody that wants to learn through speaking, through coaching, through the books, providing some online content. And so that happened about 5 years ago. And once I had this new filter, I could say, oh yeah, photography, that's a hobby. I can put that over here. Right. I might write a check every so often, but it's a hobby. The video stuff, that's a hobby. Performing, that's really where it's at. And so I was able to finally step into that and say, okay, why do I really love performing so much? It's not just about the laughter. It's about creating a place for you, my audience, to feel safe. Take the mask off you wear every day to survive and just be you. And not only that, but feel safe enough to have a genuine laugh next to somebody you don't even know.
Right.
And so the more I camped in there, I thought, oh, this is great. Because I'm meeting people as they are, not as they pretend to be. But it was only lasting for 45 minutes. And then you have to go back to the rest of your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I thought, maybe there's a way to help more because this is what I'm about. So I started speaking on value by covering concepts like leadership and teamwork and communication getting things done with grit. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe we could take it a step further. Maybe we can get certified in life coaching. So not only do I give you the tools, but then I can help walk with you to create that sustainable change. And then I'm out of the job, because the goal is that you keep running, and then I am helping another person.
Right. And then almost a situation where you would ask them to, whatever you're learning, go teach someone as well. That's kind of part of the whole process. But I've got to camp on two quick questions that you mentioned, and if I don't ask them now, I'll probably forget them. But you mentioned your parents a couple of times. I'm interested to see what work were they in that would lead them to say, follow your passion, because that was so really antithetical to to that generation and people. And even I'm in a generation ahead of you, I think so. But the idea that says, there weren't many parents that were telling kids, say in the 80s, hey, just follow your passion.
No.
Or even early 90s. I mean, what? So
I don't know how to answer your question. My father was a wholesale manufacturer's rep for commercial plumbing supplies, and my mom at the time was what was she doing? She was a secretary over at a chiropractic office, but then she ended up staying home and raising me and my brother. So I'm not really sure where the idea of find your dream and go chase it came from, but I will say about 5 years ago, I was talking to my mom, and she said, or she remembered having a conversation with my friend's mom, where the mom asked my mom, how much longer are you going to let Jeff run down this road before you reel him in and tell him this theater thing, this acting thing is not gonna go anywhere? And my mom's response was, we're going to support him as long as this is what he wants to do.
Wow.
And when he changes his mind, then we'll go there. And I was like, Mom, you wait till now to tell me? Like, do you have any idea how impactful that could have been when I was here? So I want to encourage anybody that's watching, if you've got, or listening, if you have kids and they've got a dream and you're having these conversations and you're standing up and fighting for your children out here, it's okay to share that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the fact that, I would be interested to know how many times you may have shared that story, even from the stage. Just if you haven't, it's probably going to go into the presentation now. It's going to be slide number 14 of that's right. Insert note here. The second question I had was around the whole issue of focus. So, so many creatives are they kind of thrive off variety. And, it is the shiny object syndrome, but it's not necessarily a negative, because they are so good at so many things, and they are, they are so broad and can learn skills quickly. And have you found it difficult to transition to a little more narrowly focused view the last, say, since that coach said, hey, I can help you focus? Or do you have enough variety in, say, the hobby side of things or the side hustle side of things or whatever, that it still keeps your interest? Because you don't strike me as somebody that would find just one thing and just, really double down on it and just, say, okay, this is it. This is what I do. I don't do anything else.
That's a loaded question. There's a lot there.
Take it whatever direction you want to take it.
Focus. So as a creative and as somebody who took the message that I didn't have value unless I did something, I closely aligned who I was with what I was doing. So
right.
My art was me. My art did not come from me. It was who I was. So to cut something out meant to cut out a piece of who I am.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I could, that made no sense to me. It wasn't until I read Seth Godin's book, The Icarus Deception, and I read his line, "You are not your art.
Mm.
Your art comes from you, but it's not you."
Yeah.
And if I care what you think about my art and you don't like it, I can go make new art tomorrow. And if I don't care, then end of conversation.
Right.
But the idea is that the feedback is about the art. It's not about me, the human being. So prior to meeting with Jeff, there was no focus because all of it was me. Since then, realizing that what I do comes from who I am, you ask me who I am, I'm not going to tell you, well, I'm an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I do. It's not who I am. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse there, but the focus for me now is zeroing in on what my purpose is, and that's helping people. Now, I still get creative. I still have online videos to help people take a deeper dive. I still do photography to help augment some of my presentations. I still paint and I still write, but now it's I like to call it rotating the crops. Have you ever heard of that?
Absolutely. I'm a Midwesterner. Of course I have.
Right. So like if you've got these 3 fields, I found a long time ago, if I'm juggling, if my juggling season is June through May, or no, June through August,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I'm primarily working. Then in September and October and November, I'm doing more video work. So I rotate the field. So I might have burned this out, and now I'm over here and I'm working this field where this field grows back. And then I move from video over to photography or writing, and then I come back over to juggling. And so I was able to keep it going because I rotated the crop.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. And I mean, I knew that, if I laid the groundwork for you, I knew you could unpack that, and it's a perfect segue into what I want to talk about the next. And that's just there's a few things that you mentioned in your book that I just want to ask you about. Just it's a great book, and thank you for sending this before our chat today. But it's called Blueprint for Value, and it's 52 Habits to Discover and Strengthen Your Personal Worth. And the basic premise is, just establishing, like you mentioned, the PWA, your personal worth account. And so the things that I wanted to ask you about, the first thing I want to do is I want to just read one line. It's on page 4. And it's not that I just got to page 4 in the book. I mean, that was the thing I underlined. But this one really, really hit me. And it said, as your feeling of personal worth increases, so does your energy to pursue your dreams and live a boldly authentic life. They create a sustainable loop feeding each other. I have never thought about it that way, about the connection between how you feel about maybe yourself and the energy that is required to pour into something that you're passionate about. I mean, what a great connection. And that's page 4 of the book. You want to unpack that just a little bit? I mean, where did that come from?
No, I'll just leave that there.
Just let it. Yeah, I don't think I can say it any better than I wrote it right there. I mean,
I feel like I believe that everybody has a purpose, and when we lock into that purpose, there is an energy, and there is a drive, and there is a passion that wakes up.
Yeah.
And keeps us moving forward. I feel like if we are operating outside of that purpose, things can get a little tricky and rough and exhausting. When for 15 years, I did 300 to 350 shows a year as a performer, on top of the videos and the photography and being a husband and a father. And that was exhausting. Now the book, I just published this in August of 2018. And I had spent several years beforehand putting together all of my notes.
Mm-hmm.
And in March of 2018, I kind of put together like the general outline. But then I was stuck, and it wasn't until a friend stopped by and said, "Jeff, I can help you." That's all he said. "I can help you." And I went, "Great. Let me send you the first 13 habits, review those." And I got those off in one night, and then the next night I finished out the rest of the book, maybe 2 nights, and get that to him before he gave me any feedback at all. But the belief that somebody else had in me, in what I was doing, it made me feel like I could step into that and accept it and own it. And once I made that shift, it didn't matter how many shows I had going on during the day or what was happening with the kids. I was just ready to go. And it felt really good. And when I was finished, I wasn't exhausted.
Right.
I was more awake the next day than I was the previous few weeks.
But he played a key role in that said, it's another catalyst in your life that said, hey, I can help you with this. And even just saying that may have been the help you needed. Maybe not the act of reviewing or editing or giving feedback or whatever, but actually just saying that to kind of get you, over that next hurdle. But let me ask you about a couple of other things that I've kind of, highlighted here. I love the one about number 10 that said the grace of gray. It says making an attempt regardless of the outcome is valuable. I mean, these are all valuable, but I mean, these are just 2 or 3 here that as I was reading through this, that just really, kind of were, I thought, very insightful and just kind of stuck out. The other one was weeding. It's how many times have you heard of the idea that if it's not a resounding yes, it's a no. You can be drawn in so many different areas. You can fill your garden with so many things, and we rarely prune. We rarely prune our clothes. We rarely prune our stuff.
Yeah.
It's just how do you kind of get the noise out of your life so you can actually see the things of value and
that's really hard when you find your value in something external.
Yeah.
If you're not staying on intrinsic value, if you're looking for it out here in what you do, you can't let go of that. It's like when people were asking me to focus when all of my art was a piece of me. You might as well just ask me to cut off my arm,
right,
or my leg,
right.
And right now I'm transitioning out of the entertainment business and trying to close down the Juggling Jeff stuff. Still do a few gigs here and there, but really pour my time into core authenticity and where I'm going as a speaker and coach, because I'm at this spot now where I've got to weed, and Juggling Jeff has been my identity or my name for 20 years. Right. It's been great, and I'm extremely grateful for everything that's allowed me to do and who it's allowed me to meet. But now it's time to shut that down so that we can start the next season. And I can only do that if I remember that the value is inside, it doesn't come from other people. Right. It's really interesting though, because my son, hopefully he won't do the podcast, but we were talking the other day about how I was switching businesses, and he goes, "But Dad, I'm your son." Apparently he gets street cred at school being the son of Juggling Jeff.
Yeah. Can I still wear the t-shirt, Dad?
Right. And he was like, "If you don't do that, how's this gonna play out?" And I was so excited because as a kid, my father had one job the entire time. So I never saw him make a transition. And now I've got an opportunity to talk with my son about how what I do comes from who I am. And it's okay to course correct. It's okay to make changes. That's not the same thing as quitting or failing. No doubt. And I love that distinction. It reminds me a little bit. I mean, I don't certainly never want to put words in your father's mouth, but I mean, that may be one of the the impetus for him saying that to you, because he was in one thing his entire life, and maybe he gave up on
a dream or two, to sacrifice for the family type thing. And he, and said, I can live vicariously through, my son here if I can encourage him to follow his passion. But there's one other thing I'm going to touch on real quick in the book, and this is number 45, and it's called Pay Once.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Is there a reason that you included this? Is there you don't have to share any, but was this an area that you personally struggled with is it self-forgiveness? Is it, or an idea that says, you know what, pay for this one time. We all make mistakes, own it, make it right, and move on, or whatever the steps were that you mentioned, specifically. But this whole idea, I mean, how many times do we get caught in this, cycle of just self-defeat and it reminds me of, even guys in the Middle East that, take the chains and hit themselves on the back, as part of their religious ritual of just continual punishment over and over and over again. I just really loved that, and I also showed you, I read the whole thing because I got right to the end there. I found a note there. So, but what is, let's unpack that really quickly.
Well, we live in a culture that where mistakes are not okay, and if somebody makes a mistake, we usually Snapchat that. And it spreads all over the place, and we like to point fingers at other people and point out their faults as a way to move ourselves above them, or point out the faults of another product. So you buy my product.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very much fault driven, and as a person, I make mistakes daily, and I have had a tendency to make a mistake and then relive that mistake over and over and over and over again. Like, oh yeah, well, remember that time when I treated that woman poorly? Yeah,
yep,
that's me. That's not me. That was a mistake. It happened. And if there needs to be reconciliation there, then you do that and move forward.
Right.
If I drop a ball in the middle of a presentation, or if I say something wrong to my kids, and they, oh my gosh, they're gonna be emotionally scarred for the rest of their life because I did this one thing. They're not a human being capable of making adjustments or seeking out help. Nope, they're an object. I messed them up. That's me. I will never let that go.
Wow, what a great distinction.
Yeah, that puts us in this victim mindset, and that's not healthy.
I mean, I knew there would be a reason that, this just wasn't a list of things that you learned in a seminar somewhere and you just included them in the book. I mean, every one of these 52, you've probably lived out it's in some form or fashion. And I've walked them out and kind of wrestled with them, so to speak, Can
I tell you what my favorite one is?
Yeah.
Yes, it's 52. Habit number 52 is #wash your brain. And I think that is one of the most important habits, if not the most important habit in the book. And I think that dovetails on what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
You get a lot of messages out there that say, you are not enough. You need this. You need that. Look at what you're lacking. And then it can be really easy to adopt what Carol DeWitt calls a fixed mindset.
Right.
Say, this is what it's always been. This is what it'll always be. Why should I even bother showing up? But if you think about it, I think Zig Ziglar talked about, you wash your hands once. You have to wash them again. Yes, because your hands were clean, now they're dirty. You brush your teeth once, you brush them again. Yes, teeth got dirty. I think the same thing holds true with our brain and how we think about our things and how we think about life. We can get cleaned up and think, okay, yeah, I have intrinsic value. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am a 10. I am always a 10. But our perception of that will change on a moment-to-moment basis. Maybe I'll start perceiving myself as a 7 or a 2. Or I think the first time I did this exercise, I was a negative. And I refer to The perception is your personal worth account. And that's why we need to build that up, because that can change. Your intrinsic value doesn't.
Right.
That personal worth account goes up or down.
Right.
And so I think you have to hashtag wash your brain every day, pouring into your PWA to keep your perception to match reality.
Well, that's a great segue into this is the final segment of our time together here. Want to wrap up and just give you time. This is our segment we call the kind of the Rising Tide MicroCourse segment. That is, just 2 or 3 points that you want to just touch on that kind of leads people into, gives them a real clear understanding of the services you provide, things that they may want to consider. But this time is yours, and you label it however you want to label it, and give us the 3 points in the next couple of 3 minutes, and we'll wrap up and just let you add whatever else you want to add at the end. So take it away.
Well, hey, Jeff Koziatek here on Rising Tide, and I speak on value. There are a lot of people out there that, like me, they're chasing the next object. Now we got to go over here. Now we have to get this. Now we have to do that. Now we have to get this, and they're never present. As a kid, I loved baseball. Wanted to play baseball. Then I had somebody steal that dream from me. Years later, I would get a chance to throw out the first pitch at a St. Louis Cardinals baseball game. Super excited. I'm finally on the mound where I always wanted to be as a kid. I'm throwing out a pitch, granted dressed as a wizard, but I'm throwing out the pitch. I'm having a great time, and then I move on to the next thing. The only reason I know that I did that and that I was having a good time is because there were photos taken of the moment, and I was smiling. At the time, my value was totally tied to what I did.
Right.
I am the entrepreneur. I am the artist. I am the performer. I'm the producer. And so it was just, what's the next step? What's the next step? And I was never able to just relax and really enjoy the moment and the experience. And frankly, I that frustrates me. I'd love to be able to go back and do that over. So what I want to do is help people be present, not only their business, but in their personal relationship with their spouse, with their kids. And so I do that through keynotes. I do that through one-on-one coaching and some books. That's me.
So if you had to speak to somebody and specifically about finding their value, you kind of touched on it in that quick summary there. So what's the first thing? Is it living in the moment? Is it understanding where you are versus, you just you're always on to the next thing? Is it being present in the moment? How would you describe those?
The first step towards finding intrinsic value?
Yeah, just your worth, your value.
It would be through engagement. I often talk about the 4 E's of engage, equip, empower, and encourage. And I would say the first step is to engage yourself. It's like the mirror gate in the Never-Ending Story. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but there's a point in the film where the hero Atreyu approaches this gate, and off in the distance you have Falcor, the luck dragon, and the old wise sage, and they're watching. And the Falcor says, "Oh, this will be super easy. He's got this." And the old wise sage says, "Oh no. This is where people are confronted with their true selves, and most men run away screaming." Like that piece of truth, I think is universal. Most people won't take time to engage with themselves and take an honest look at what's going on. I want to encourage people to take that step with courage. If you need somebody to walk with you, there are coaches out there, counselors, therapists. Take a look, figure out who you are as a human being, apart from what you do, apart from your failures, apart from your successes and mistakes, all of that. Who are you just as a human being? What do you value? And what are you here to do? And how are you here to do it? That is the vision and mission thing. It starts there. And then from there, you take off, you equip yourself with what you need to to move forward, to succeed, to take risks, and then you empower yourself. You give yourself a chance to make mistakes without judgment, because you know that the mistake is not who you are, and you can always pick up.
Well, Jeff, those are outlined probably in much more detail in your book, Blueprint for Value. So where can somebody get a copy of your book right now?
They can get a copy on my website, coreauthenticity.com.
Okay. We will list that in the show notes. And Jeff, it's been a true pleasure just having you on today. Thank you for taking the time on a Saturday morning. And
yeah. Could I throw out just one caveat?
Sure.
Maybe two?
Yeah.
A while back, my friend, another magician, or a magician, said to me, Jeff, it's not about being the best juggler or the best magician or the best actor or the best businessman or the best banker or whatever. It's about showing up to give to the audience and receive. That's it. He's like, from that, excellence in your product and services will come. But if that's the number one goal, it'll never be enough, and it won't work. It completely shifted how I looked at entertainment at the time and how I look at business. It's so easy to say that, you know, our business is all about the bottom line. We have to do this, we've got to do that, we have to hit all of our deadlines, and we miss the human interaction. And we've got something to give to everybody. We have something to learn from everybody. I had somebody 20 years younger than me teach me how to ride a unicycle. You know, and I would have missed that if I thought, no, I have all the answers. You've got nothing to teach me, child. Like that's crazy. So that one message, it's not about being the best. It's about showing up to give and receive. Has allowed me to take my products and my services to the next level, add another level of excellence to that, and be open and receptive to hear what's going on with other people and the people that I serve.
Well, thank you for wrapping up with one more nugget of gold at the end. You know, I have thoroughly enjoyed going through the book and just having this time we spent this morning. And I just encourage people to follow the links that are going to be in the show notes, and just engage with Jeff and you know, get his book. It's a very short read, but it's not designed to be just read very quickly. It's designed to be read over a series of time, and it clearly outlines, you know, early in the book on how to best use this resource. But Jeff, on behalf of all the listeners of Rising Tide, I just want to thank you for taking time this morning and just really playing your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Have a great day.
Thanks. Go Rising Tide.